So I finished watching the entire CGA versus Andrew Wilson debate. Very interesting from my perspective. And a lot of things were exchanged between both men. And as far as I'm concerned, the talking over and the, you know, subliminal insults and the direct insults really don't matter. It's a wash. They were both trading certain barbs or certain blows. But at the end of the day, Andrew Wilson presented this philosophy or strategy of this ecclesiastic marriage as a solution. I give him credit for hope. I give him credit for presenting some type of solution. But that's all it is. And obviously he speaks from a religious perspective. I like Andrew Wilson. I also like CGA. In fact, I would consider myself a practicer of the free agent lifestyle. It has benefited me tremendously, being able to retire early, to level up for a certain level of freedom. So one person is dealing with the world the way it is currently, what exists in the market, which is we're infested with 304 behavior. You're down to like the 5% woman right now. Women are not getting on no ecclesiastic, religious weddings or marriages or submitting to any men, period. Women got a taste of that freedom with feminism and they ain't going back. So for that, I give Coach Greg Adam the W. Andrew Wilson, I give him credit for hope. But hope is not a strategy. We know that. Even CGA said that. We all know that it's men. Ain't nobody signing up for that shit. The type of, it'd have to be almost an apocalyptic reset for anything Andrew Wilson says would work in the current environment. These women have been indoctrinated with that feminist ideology. And even to the point, in the church, you have the Christian feminists. The pastors are entrenched with the money. The women have, they really don't like men. They just want Simpson retirement plans, especially these older women. These older women that have been through the ringers. They're not, you can't pray that hoe in away. In the famous words of Corey Holcomb, you can't delete the ski. Once these women have been liberally indoctrinated, ran through in these colleges and these dorm and all these programs. And you say, well, maybe we shouldn't provide funding for a lot of these women to go to college. Really, under what system when women are the ones that are out here? And the government and corporations are pushing certain agendas for women because women do 80% of the spending. So there's an economic motivation with that. So as much as I like Andrew Wilson, I also understand the real world and how reality works out here today. We're not going back. I'm sorry. We're just not going back. So I have to side with CGA. But the problem becomes for most of us men, we have kids. So we have to also listen to what Andrew Wilson says in terms of hope, because we would like to have a world where our kids, our daughters, our sons would have opportunities to have marriages and families at some point. But the reality is you're going to have to do like an exchange, arranged marriage or something between families for those people without the state, or some type of arrangement has to be done between families who share the same values for that system to actually even work, for any of that to happen. Because first of all, we live in the secular world. The laws are based on the secular world. Most people are not religious in terms of practicing and what they execute. We have a ton of people that claim to be Catholics and Christians and whatever else. What they practice, most of them is some demonic crap. They'll be like, even when you see in the Black community, they'll be like, I'm a Christian and they'll still support abortion and all that other stuff. Or what they call women's right to choose. Look, I'm not on any of these plantations, so I have no say in either of that. But there's people that say one thing or identify as something, but what they actually do in real life is what says a lot about them. That's why when I tell you, the majority of content creators you see on YouTube are fake content creators. Because what you say versus what you do, see, is what really it's about. Because I come on here and say whatever I got to say to try and get YouTube views and make some money. But do I live the shit that I talk about? Do I live the crap that I talk about? That's the question you got to ask. Like right here, I'm in the morning getting ready to do some self-development, get to the gym. The markets obviously open at 9:30 in the morning. This is who I am, period. That's why I can sit here in the camera and look you in the eye, because I'm not afraid of some background investigation into my background of who I am as a person and how I live. Because I don't pretend to be an individual. And even with all of us as men, most of us have simped in our life. We've done simp shit. We've done it. I've done it. I'm guilty of it. But hey, we all must repent of our sins and become better men. Because most of us are raised to be egalitarian, indoctrinated, self-sacrificing, altruistic simps. Because that's what they wanted to program us, to make us disposable tampon and useful to women, to serve women. So true masculinity for most of us had to be learned out here in the Serengeti. Or we're fortunate to have a masculine father in our life, or we have to learn things through different channels, or watch or observe different cultures that are pretty masculine. Especially, some of the cultures from the Middle East or Africa, or even some of the Asian cultures, because they've really done a pretty good job of beating down manhood and masculinity in this country. I mean, they've beaten it to a pulp till we dealing with you got to be careful even how you talk to dudes, because there be some simp-ass dudes out here, Mitch-led dudes, in the words of my brother, the CGA. Again, I like Andrew Wilson too. But reality versus what we feel or what we want the world to be. It's not going back. Let's face it, gentlemen. And that's why I say it's more important nowadays to protect your peace, to protect your sanity, to protect your mental health, to do the self-development. Even if you're married, you better keep the look of a new box in your eye. What I mean by that is you better take care of yourself like you're a single man. That doesn't mean you be out here running the streets. But you better keep the look of new box in your eyes so the woman sees it, so you don't end up in some sexless marriages or whatever. Because women respond to strength and power. Period. Respect is what it is. Respect is love. And strength and power is you can't force women to do anything. You only can control you. And that look in your eye that if you play with me, your ass is gone. Gone. Ain't gonna be no therapy or therapists or any of that other shit. You want to play sexless marriages or whatever, do that. But a peaceful life is going to be pounding. I may not be pounding you, but something is going to be pounded. Period. So that's me. I'm just indifferent. I don't subscribe to the control and mindset and mentality of, trying to use power and these social pressures to get people to do what they want. You don't do what I want. You don't want to do the things that put a smile on my face. It's time for me to move somewhere else, because I can only control me. It's time for me to pack it up and ship on out somewhere else that puts a smile on my face. I ain't even gonna give you that much pushback. I say, okay, that's the way you want to flow. It's time for me to go. Period. Ain't doing all that shit. Besides you've already failed. If you have to do all that crap that Andrew Wilson, my brother, is talking about, your life sucks. Imagine having to have the church and social pressure to get a woman to want to be with you, to sleep with you. Man, you don't want to sleep with me? Take that old, box is plentiful. The world is flooded with box. That's why it's very important that men do the self-development and develop abundance mindset and travel the globe. And you'll see how box is not really that valuable. It really is not. It's so easy to get. You just got to travel the globe. It's overpriced in America because of feminism, because of, men are raised with a certain mentality of, undervaluing themselves. In society, women are propped up by government and feminism, and they make a little bit of money. So, I only want this type of guy. Man, reality is this. That's why most guys end up with a whole lot of post-nut clarity. Post-nut clarity depression, I call it. When you discover that you just invested time, energy, or even resources and discovered that what you hit ain't worth nothing. You're looking at all the defects and all of the problems and issues that come with her, and you just get skedaddle. You're out of there. But some guys are so selfish, they'll sign on to anything just to experience some pre-owned vagina. And this is, part of that, my channel is trying to help them do is they overvalue these women, especially when they come to the church and they do the rebranding thing. But we're going to get back to why the home run at the end of it was when it get too personal. I don't believe in bringing people's wives and all these other things into these debates. But he went low with CGA, and CGA, they went low with each other. But everything that my brother Andrew Wilson says is disqualified by the fact that he married a baby mama with 2 or 3 kids. It's confirmed through search that all these virtuous Christian women that he's talking about, most of them have been rebranded. Whole face reset. Has experienced a lot of sexual liberation. And now they've found Christ. I ain't saying nothing wrong with that. The problem is when you start doing that stuff, do whatever you want to do. Marry who you want to do. With people can have redemption. They can do whatever they want to do. The problem is you lose your ability to be lecturing people. You lose your ability to be talking to people a certain type of way when your actions and behavior don't match what you're trying to, cast any type of judgment or whatever else. And even he got Andrew Wilson with the copious amounts of cigarettes that he smoked every day. If the body is the temple of the Lord, you walking around, you're obese or sucking down 1,000 cigarettes a day, you're actually desecrating the temple of the Lord, the body. You're supposed to treat your body very nicely. And CGA got him on that. But the baby mama thing, which basically argues the CGA point, where are you going to find these virgin, virtuous women? They're not going to give that up. They're going to enjoy the benefits. That's why you guys need to adapt. And people think that a peaceful life, when I make these types of videos, you think I spend that much time concerning myself about YouTube and women and female nature and all this other bullshit? No, I'm about to go hit the gym and hit the park and get my day going. I don't invest any energy in these women. Let these wild horses run free. Every once in a while, I'll mount one. When I'm bored or the testosterone level gets to a certain point, it's over. But as far as for me, I'm 51 years old. So I'm even older probably than CGA and whatever else. So for me, I'm worried about my peace, my legacy, my money, my physical health, mental health. I don't give a rat's ass about relationships in terms of getting into one. I just try to give a few free game to the young brothers and get rid of all this stupid, ridiculous, dumb dating coach, game coach bullshit. Half of these guys are just simps. I can smell their innocence. They be on some Andrew Wilson shit, marrying baby mamas and lecturing people on the internet. It's fake. It's all bullshit to get money out of dudes. Sign up for my dating and relationship. Man, 90% of that shit is that woman's into you or not. She either into you or not. The other thing rests is self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, self-development, money, and also listening to some good content creators. Patrice O'Neal would be number one. Then you get someone like Dr. Ryan Terabin that really gets into the psychology of dating and relationship. But what I would say to you guys is this, okay? Make sure, if you can, do some background investigation on these guys on the internet, okay? And I say that not because I'm a 22-year police veteran. Most of these guys are fake. They're fake. They don't live the life they're talking about. It is disturbing to think about it. If you know some of these guys in real life and you find out that, many times they're just trying to hustle from one YouTube payment to the next. And they're not living anything. They're not doing anything. They haven't put in any time or effort, or they don't practice what they preach. But they got all these you got your moments and all this other stuff like that. And be careful the advice you take on in social media. And again, I'm gonna try and merge into more different type of content, especially with the young brothers, young black men. If you're in that matriarchal community, when you get 18 years old, run, run, run. You're gonna end up being a son husband, a baby daddy, or possibly even deleted. It is a matriarchal environment. I don't care if you have to join the Air Force or the Navy. Get yourself some skills, some training. My rule is the first $100,000. Get that into an investment. S&P 500, I don't care if it's ETF. Go to Charles Schwab, find one low cost, no load, cheap fund, and you'll probably outperform most of these advisors out here. Just keep pounding money away in that thing. They have a lot of low cost one. I know the XWPPX or whatever, just split 6 ways, so that's low. There's other funds you can get into. Try and get that first 100,000 working for you while you sleep. That's the hardest money you're going to want to get. Everything else is just pounding away and staying debt free and just pushing money into the market. And you'll be in a situation where you're financially free. These 304s ain't going nowhere. Let them crash out. You have to develop a certain level of indifference, a mindset. That's why, like, if you ask me about women, you might end up on a 5-day fast because I have to duplicate the experience of suffering or cleansing. Whereas you develop an immunity and a bark around your character as a man where you can resist these women. The power is in your ability to say no, not in your ability to go get women, your ability to resist the urge to go after these women that are just low quality, low substance, and give away your commitment or relationship to these women because you feel terrible about yourself. You have a scarcity mindset mentality. So I teach discipline more so and self-esteem more so. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to teach self-esteem. You have to suffer for that. So your desire to go get them sweets or that whatever from the, whatever, it's the same with holding yourself. Building that strength and discipline. It's the same thing. It's trying to control of yourself. Self-control, self-mastery is what I'm more into. I'm not going to be out here trying to teach you how to get some pre-owned box, running my mouth about all this game shit. Well, 9 times out of 10, they're selling it to you anyhow. Instead of spending $300 on a date or whatever, I'm just being honest with you. I can't say it on YouTube. It's the same damn thing as prostitution. If a woman ain't really into you like that, if she not like you, you're into prostitution. Let's cut the bullshit. Even if you marry her, you're still into prostitution, pay for play. Because if she's not attracted to you, you know what I'm saying? Everybody pays, but if she's attracted to you and really like you, you pay less. Women aren't free. That's the truth about it. And you think women are free, that means you ain't slinging no sausage. Because if you were getting free stuff from a bunch of women and you were tearing them up, they'd be throwing bricks to your house and you'd be getting charged with all kinds of fake, false accusations and false charges. And you'd be the man and be at your house all the time. So cut this bullshit with this fake ass game shit. Most of them dudes be tricks. They be spending money on these women. It's all a bunch of lies. The problem is we have a fraud problem with a lot of these content creators. They don't live what they talk about. They make shit up. They lie. In this environment where it's transactional money dating, I agree with some things that CGA said. You need leverage and options. You need power. But you more so need discipline, self-control, and a mindset to resist. And you also need, maybe in some instances, through experience. Because if you're enamored by a piece of box and it takes control of your mind and you get pee-whipped and you start emptying out your pockets, that's a lack of emotional discipline, emotional control. That's why I'm also big into fasting, intermittent fasting particularly, and developing a certain amount of discipline. Because discipline translates. De-discipline, emotional discipline, all these things are necessary to survive the current market that we have out here. It's not going to change. These women, especially the ones now who are spinning the block on this fake-ass traditionalism, trying to get guys to marry them. What are you marrying? A reformed 304? Somebody who's really mismanaged their youth? been ran through, ramrodded. What are you going to do? What do you think she's going to be? She doesn't like men. Well, in fact, I would make an argument they hate men. And they really only want to be under men's wallet. And as soon as they get under your wallet and they get the state involved, whether you're living with them or you're married to them, that sex is going to dry up. It becomes a power situation to extract more resources out of you, manipulate you. And they're going to disrespect you because it don't matter whether you pay all the bills or none or half of it. They just don't like your ass, to be honest with you. The truth of the matter, they don't want to be under men's leadership. And that's another thing I say about Andrew. These women don't want to be under no men's leadership. They like being free out here. They like being government empowered women. They only deal with men because for sometimes they're getting too old. Maybe they want kids, or maybe they just, want a sucker to pay for them. Because if they wanted to, they would be under men's leadership when they were 21 years old. When they were brand new, they would have gotten married way back then. But that's part of the indoctrination of the system. But anyhow, without further ado, in my opinion, it's not even about who won or who lost the debate. It's like we're just talking in circles here. Because one of the main problems is that the women have to be in a society, in a world where a lot of women have free choices. Not all countries, obviously, there's certain situations, Afghanistan, women are. But in an environment like America in the West, where women have free choices, are the women interested in what you're talking about? And my answer to that is absolutely hell no. So what do you have? Unfortunately, because Andrew Wilson, whom I particularly like, is given a strategy based upon hope. Hope ain't working out here. There's only two things that work out here: strategic discomfort, an apocalyptic environment, or just to create an environment, a financial situation is so bad, there's going to be some type of reset, unfortunately. But inevitably, those people are not raised to be under any men's leadership or doesn't even desire that. They're just forced under duress. But do you want somebody to be with you under duress? Hell no. Yuck. It's disturbing. Anyhow, guys, leave your comments down below. Make sure you like and share the video. But who wants that? Nobody wants women that don't freely and willingly want to be with them. Shoot, I wouldn't touch a woman for 1,000 feet who doesn't want to be with me, especially physically, of her own free choices or of some type of exchange, whatever it is. But these guys are talking about are just a pipe dream. Not happening. Anyhow, I'm out.